Throughout history, one of the most ruthless and barbaric kings was Henry VIII. He may be best remembered for the fact he had 6 wives and executed 2 of these inside the walls of the Tower of London. But what is not as well known is that roughly 70,000 people were executed during his 4-decade-long reign, and this is estimated at the time to have been about 3% of the population. So just under 1 in 30 people lost their lives on the structures such as the gallows, scaffold, or upon public beheading spots. The amount of crimes someone could have been put to death for did vary, but Henry VIII even changed some of the laws of his country to ensure that no matter what, the most brutal justice could be enacted upon a convicted criminal. But what is not as well known is the fact that inside of Henry VIII's kingdom, within the last year of his reign and life, there was a young 11-year-old girl who was executed inside of a small town in Shropshire. Alice Glaston's story in history is one which is remembered with horror and terror. But how and why did Henry VIII hang an 11-year-old girl? To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Now, horrifically, England as a nation has a number of cases in which children at a young age have been put to death for crimes. Later, during a period known as the Bloody Code, the amount of crimes that carried a capital punishment were increased, but King Henry VIII, during the Tudor period, even had 2 people boiled alive for allegedly poisoning. It was during his time that structures such as Traitor's Gate at the Tower of London gained their infamous nicknames and reputations, and where heads were stuck high upon London Bridge regularly, as even the most famous were subjected to this rough treatment. There, throughout history, was a boy named John Dean who was 9 years old when he was condemned to death. However, the story of Alice Glaston is without doubt awful, and she is remembered as the youngest girl to be executed for a crime in English history. The fate of Alice Glaston took place in Shropshire, a county which is rather close to Wales. In the records of the small market town of Much Wenlock, it was described that alongside 2 other criminals that Alice Glaston was hanged in front of a crowd that had gathered. But why was she condemned to death? It was written inside of the parish records and register by the vicar of Much Wenlock that in 1545 that here was buried John Dodd of the parish of Little Wenlock, who was hanged here, and also Alice Glaston, 11 years of age, of the parish of Little Wenlock, and William Harper, a tailor. The records don't outline the crimes why they were executed, but their crimes could be linked. Much Wenlock as a town was a rather small settlement, and it was not often that executions took place, and for 3 of these to occur inside the town at the same time, the crimes therefore could have been linked. An executioner from a bigger town or a city may have arrived to carry out the executions and act as a hangman, but it's most probable that Alice Glaston, the 11-year-old girl, was tried at the Wenlock Guildhall, where the local courtroom was found, and judges would hear cases. On the ground floor of the Guildhall was a prison where Alice would have been locked up. But let's look at some of the crimes that she could have been executed for. For her to have been put to death, she must have either been involved in a murder, arson, or even some form of treason. These 3 offences usually carried the death penalty, regardless of age. And even with arson, the most serious crime against property, this was dealt with ruthlessly. Alice Glaston was on the gallows, hanged, which was the standard punishment for women who were sentenced to death. There was burning at the stake, but this was usually done for witchcraft offences or heresy, showing that Alice Glaston was probably not condemned for these crimes. On the other side, crimes such as theft were often dealt with by prison time, or someone being publicly branded or whipped, or locked in the stocks or pillory, showing that Alice's crime must have been serious. There are no other accounts of youngsters being involved in the crimes of Alice Glaston, meaning that she was herself convicted and sentenced to death. There is the possibility that she may have been condemned for being a witch, and that she had some form of trial which led to her being sentenced to death. Many people often found themselves accused of witchcraft, and this was a serious crime, and these women had to defend themselves in front of men in a very hostile environment, and judges decided their fate. Alice could have been condemned to death for this, and she may not have been able to answer for her crimes as she was just so young, and may not have been given a chance to defend her reputation or herself. But on the 13th of April 1546, inside of Henry VIII's kingdom, in the town of Much Wenlock, an 11-year-old girl was brought to the gallows inside of the town, where she had a noose and a rope passed around her neck. The executioner then placed her on a stool, and then he removed this and left her strangling on the gallows. Alice Glaston's story and fate was completely terrifying and awful, and inside of Henry VIII's kingdom and land, this sort of execution was said to have been okay, and it was perfectly legal. This shows how brutal Tudor society was, and that they were executing even children. Thank you for watching, and to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. And again, thank you so much for watching.